What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative and another edition of Short Story Saturday. To start off this week of short stories, I read Dolly Polly, which you can read for free on aminitel.com. This is a cosmic fantasy serial about a mouseling named Opaline who is cursed to blip from planet to planet through space and time, along with several others. So this particular episode, Dolly Polly, is the second in the October Spooky Line series from last year. It is so good. And as you can probably tell from the title, Dolly Polly, we have a doll story, and those are always creepy. If you're like me and you think of a scary story involving a doll, one of the first things I picture is the doll Annabelle, and that just helped my mind picture the scariest dolls possible when reading this story. So in this particular episode, Opaline is trying to help a child's parents. This child, for whatever reason, will no longer talk to her parents. She will only talk to Polly. And Polly only comes by at night. So Opaline is hiding out, just spying through the window, seeing what's going on. And Polly turns out to be a doll with some crazy powers. Let's just say Dolly Polly came with some strings attached, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the next one. I will say the Spooky Line series is my favorite so far. If I had started out reading the Spooky Line, it probably wouldn't be as good or make as much sense without all of the groundwork the previous episodes provided. So I wouldn't say go read these out of order, but I will say you should definitely check out aminitel.com if you love cosmic fantasy, or if you like time travel, if you like stories about cute little animals. Where can you go wrong? So the next story that I read comes from Richard Thomas's Tribulations collection. The story is called Vision Quest. This one just made my heart ache. I like this one. It is fiction, but it is fiction that is believable. It is real. It is something you can maybe not relate to, but you can definitely feel empathy for. So our main character loses his entire family in an auto accident. It is a legit accident. He was not drunk driving or doing anything he wasn't supposed to. It was a legit accident. He loses his wife, his son, his daughter, a set of twins. All of them. What would you do if that happened to you? How do you think you would be able to function? Where do you think your mind would go? What would it do to perhaps protect itself when you have nothing left but the house that is full of your family's ghosts? And these ghosts of your family, are they real? Are they imagined? Are they projections? What are they? What would you do? This story explores what this man did, and it was just... Richard Thomas is such an amazing author. I'm going to be so upset when I run out of his material to read. Next, let's talk about Stephen King's collection, Skeleton Crew. Redemption. Last week, the two stories I read out of this one, I did not care for at all. This week I read The Raft, and that was so good. When I started reading it, I felt deja vu, and I was able to picture the story, but the pictures created in my mind's eye were not ones I created. Meaning, if I was picturing it, it would probably be happening in today's time. This was like a 70s pictures that I was seeing. It turns out it's because Creepshow actually did like a 15 to 20 minute little episode where they brought this to life in a TV adaptation, and I saw that as a kid and I absolutely loved it. The story, of course, is even better, except for there's one thing the show did that made more sense that the story didn't. But at any rate, it's a fantastic story, just full of fear and dread, and I just love it. And then I got back into Brandon Sanderson. I did something that some of my friends says nobody else has ever done that they know of. I read the 11th Medal. Now, this is the Arcanum Unbounded collection. The little cover page at the bottom, it says the story can be read before the original Mistborn trilogy. And I saw that because I was in here reading The Emperor's Soul and The Hope of Elantris. So when I got to the next story and I saw that, I filed that away because I knew I was going to be reading Mistborn soon. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to read that short story before I read the series. And I think it makes sense to read it when I did, because from what I understand, It is about Kelsier, how he became the character that he is when you meet him in Mistborn, who trained him, how he got his start, where he got his motivations to become the character that he is. And I would highly recommend reading the 11th Medal just to get a gauge on if you're trying to figure out if Mistborn is a trilogy you would enjoy. It was basically an introduction to the magic that these people wield called allomancy. I loved it. I am very excited for Mistborn now. Next up, I read an essay from Zora Neale Hurston's You Don't Know Us Negroes. I read one called Spirituals and NeoSpirituals. The thing that stood out to me the most is she says towards the beginning that people always, when they hear the term Negro spiritual, they automatically think it is a song of sorrow, one that was written and sung by slaves. And she says, no, spirituals are religious songs that were around long before that. Spirituals covered anything and everything. They're religious songs, sure, but they were sung by a group that was bent on expressing feelings, not sound effects. The first notes of a spiritual, there was no let me find the perfect pitch. They just burst forth from the individual, and then the church, the people would join in, all of them just fired by the inner urge to participate. I can't wait to read more and just continue educating myself. I have learned something from every single essay that I read that I just blew my mind. The next story is probably one of my favorite stories about a boogeyman I've ever read. I picked up Ronald McGilvery's Tales from the Parkland to read the next story, and it's called The Boogeyman. Have you ever read a story, a scary story, a horror story about a boogeyman that had a happy ending? So this delightfully fearsome story is about a man named Chris who has been laid off from his job. He's really upset. He's worked there over a decade. Well, who does he run into but his under-the-bed boogeyman from when he was a kid? Not to be confused with the in-the-closet boogeyman or the in-the-basement boogeyman. In this story, the panhandlers that you see around town are boogeymen who the children grew up and forgot about them and didn't believe in them anymore, so they're unemployed. Turns out Chris has an opportunity for his boogeyman, as well as a few other unemployed boogeyman, that is going to restore them to their former glory and power and keep them happy for years to come. This one, if you don't read any other story in this collection, please read The Boogeyman. I got so much entertainment out of it. It is hands down my favorite story that I read this week. The last story that I read came out of the Liminal Spaces anthology edited by Kevin Lucia. I read Mirror Mirror by Joshua Palmatier. I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. This was a speculative fiction fantasy tale, and I am going to have to get my hands on some other things that Joshua wrote. Fortunately, at the front of every story in this anthology, Kevin Lucia puts down some of the author's other works, so I know exactly where I'm going to start with Joshua Palmatier. This one I loved. So there are two kings that have had some grievances with one another, and instead of waiting to gather around the Festivus pole in December, they agree to meet, and there is a way to mediate between the two of them that is very unusual. There were some very unexpected things that happened here, lots of lying and deceit on both sides. The depths that powerful men will go to claim other territory, and how unfeeling they are in regards to the measures they take in order to manipulate people to do what they want. I was so shocked at just how deep this story went in so few pages. It was a very well written story. It was exactly as long as it needed to be, although I would absolutely love a fantasy series around just expand on these two kings and what happened. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait to read more by this author. This is why I love reading anthologies and collections, discovering new authors. Just get a taste test of what they can do and see what kind of writing chops they have on them. That will bring us to the end of all of the short stuff I read this week. If you're interested in hearing about the books I read, I will put a link in the cards to that video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back on Monday with an adult coloring book review. So come back Monday if you want to see more on that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.